A dream can make a man feel alive, or it can kill him instead. But to simply exist, just because one's been born, is a sort of notion that I hate. I can't stand it. A dream is something you do for yourself, not for others. Griffith with a band of the hawk. Let's break him down. Griffith really is such a beautifully complexly designed character, both literally and, artistically. It's just such a rarity to have a villain that just is so understandable on why they became why they are, and yet despise them all the same. Griffith inherently has sold his soul for his dream. He has quite literally sold himself off in order to actually achieve this dream. He shares a similar affliction towards sexual trauma and abuse like Guts has. They both sold themselves in their own way, and they're both pawned off by either someone they trusted or someone in the name of something greater. With Griffith, he did it as a moral thing because he needed the money and he needed more troops and more means of supporting his men in order to not have another child die because of him. And it's because of this trauma, this inability to actually become weak and become vulnerable, that Griffith ultimately falters and succumbs to these deep and lethargic issues. It's why he keeps ultimately having this issue of wanting to control people and viewing them as objects, because in his own way, he kind of doesn't humanize himself. He can't allow himself to be humanized. He kind of needs to devalue people, or else you're going to start realizing the extent of the damage you've done to people, the extent that he's hurt and harmed people, that he's ruined so many lives, how many people has died because of a dream he has had since in childhood. And here's why ultimately Griffith sort of fails to become what Guts is. Not only just a hero, but an absurdist man, someone who's able to thrive despite his absurdity. Obviously, when in the case of Femto, he's gained ungodly power. He's insanely strong. He's attained heights that which no man can achieve because he's not a man anymore. He's become even more inhuman. He's given into the worst depravities known to human existence and has ultimately succumbed to becoming a slave to his own desires and fate. He has no sense of actual autonomy because he's controlled by something. He's controlled by a dream. He's controlled by money. He's controlled by people. He's controlled by destiny. He's controlled by fate. He's controlled. He has nothing allowing him to actually thrive. He's bound by so much, by his own trauma and his own weight. And what makes his connection to Guts so beautifully intimate and just complex and just gorgeous is that ultimately they understand that they're bound by so much, but they can be free and human around each other. Griffith likes Guts' tenacity. He likes his rebellious attitude, his ability to take control of things, to just march on and just live. And that's why they have such a connection. Obviously, Griffith never knew about what happened to Guts as a child, but they have the connection of not really to be open to people, to be vulnerable, and they slowly break each other down. Griffith and Guts are sort of being built upon one another. They are building each other higher and higher and higher as they go along in the series. And it's so beautiful to see. And we don't really see that necessarily from Griffith, absolutely, until we get to the sacrifice scene, until we get to the eclipse. And we see the extent to which everything has been predisposed and just cast aside because Guts made him forget. Griffith's dream isn't a dream. It's something that he feels he has to do, or else he has to confront everything he's done in the name of it. And when he honestly probably doesn't even believe in it anymore. That's what the tragedy there is, because Griffith can't confront his demons. Guts does it daily. And that's one of the major things as well. Griffith becomes his demons. He embraces the shadow, but he doesn't necessarily dominate or control it like Guts does. He becomes a victim to it. He becomes the victim to his own malcontent and disturbed desires. He becomes a caricature a symbol rather than a human being. And that's what the tragedy is with Griffith there. He's reaching for something that has no end, no point, no meaning beyond the meaning he prescribes to it. And even then, the victory will never be final. He doesn't realize this. Nothing inherently wrong with ambition or dreams, but the issue is when you let these ideas consume you and has some sense of predeterminism and a sense of causality and fate. And Griffith, when he comes to realize this, seeks to fly even higher, and he lets his own ambitions and desires and depravity consume him. And it's because of that that Griffith is hollow. He is empty and he is dead inside, and that is the tragedy of him and why he can never ever be happy like Guts is. Even when Guts succumbs to his despair, he is able to find some vestige of rebellion against his circumstances, his own sense of revolt against fate, against destiny. Griffith gave it up. He is his persona, he is his identity now, and he has failed to rise, to become the absurd man. He was never above humanity. He was merely a scared, broken child, unable to grasp an impossible dream. And he was not wrong for having this dream, but he failed to live life properly, and he only aimed for the hopeless and gave in to his despair. And that is the tragedy of Griffith, and why he's such a beautifully written character. Guts and Griffith and their dynamic is something that's become very iconic within the industry. How they so beautifully contrast each other, are just so beautifully intertwined, right down to the aesthetic of their designs and their symbolic meanings and interpretations. They do such a wonderful job of contrasting each other, of speaking about the commentary of humanity, and it's such a unbelievably ingenious portrayal, and it's such masterful writing. Thank you, Kentaro Miura. May you rest in peace. A genius taken far too soon.